So I've been watching a lot of master classes, tutorials, and spending a lot of money on watching other artists, whether it be like, courses they have or the 7, 8, 9, 10, the stream pass or like Splice. I mean, almost every website that teaches things has this. And I've been watching a lot of other producers that are, better than me make songs from scratch. And every single one that I've watched so far, they haven't made a bad song. And it's not because like everything's prepared or anything like that. It struck me that you can get to a point in your ability to where you can't make something that sounds bad because you're doing everything right. Not even right. You're just doing things that just make sense to do in order for something to sound good. And I thought of this, and I've actually always thought of this concept for a long time now. And I think I might have heard it somewhere else as well. But it's the fact that if you're a professional, on your worst days, you're still really good. You're still better than most people. And I think about this in related to sports terms and specifically golf. So next week is the Masters tournament. If you don't know golf, it's completely fine. But it's the fact that if you shoot and the scores, you don't have to know what any of this means. If you shoot a 78, which is 6 over par, you will probably be in dead last. But 99.99% of people that play golf wouldn't even come close to that score. So on a professional, or for a professional, his worst day is still better than everyone except 200 people in the world. His worst day is still far better than the normal person. Now, I understand sports is different from like a music creative side, but there's still like a skill level there that needs to be improved. And I thought of this as well when Martin Garrix, you guys may have seen it before, but he did one of his Martin Garrix TV, I forget what it's like, TV show, the Martin Garrix show. And he made a little melody, and I think it's called Thunder. I think like the ID was called Thunder. I think he named it Thunder or something like that. Check it out, really cool. But he made that in 5 minutes, and it's the fact that everybody in the comments is like, we need to release this, we need to hear this. And it's a simple melody that he made in 5 minutes. And you can, and it's obviously a really good melody, but you can just hear the finished product already, and you can hear the direction it's going to go. And I'm not here to say like Martin Garrix is like a genius, but it's the fact that anything he makes is going to sound really good. Because if he made a bad melody, I guarantee you it would still sound good because it still makes sense. It's still following some sort of, not formula, but it's just the fact that it's going to sound good because it can't sound bad. And the overall message here is the better that you get, the worst, the better that you get, the better your worst days get. And I've always thought this in my head, and I think, like I said, I've probably found this somewhere as well. And this popped in my mind recently because I've just been watching so many tutorials and watching people make stuff. I'm like, it doesn't make sense that all of these songs sound good. It's because you're doing stuff that, I mean, obviously there's a time for experimenting and seeing what works. But even if you experiment, I still feel like it'll make sense. Because when I started, like obviously I'm not, like my ability to make dance music and just work like this, it's not, like my ability isn't close to where I want it to be, or I hope it will be. But on my worst days now, I still feel the fact that it's audible. Because when I started, something that sounded bad or even good when you start, there's literally a tornado warning if you can hear that. But it's so windy. So on my worst days or best days, when I started making music, it was like awful. Like nothing made sense because you don't know anything. Like you don't know chord structures. You don't know like anything about sound design. You're just throwing things on and throwing sidechain on it, really. But it's the fact now that if I listen back, and like I said, I'm not saying I'm like a god producer. It's the fact that everything makes sense. You know, you have a bass line, you have a melody, you have chords. You're not adding like 2 sub basses. I've done that before. You know, it doesn't make any sense. But you just do things that don't make sense, and it just makes it sound bad. So over time, your bad songs will progressively get better. And I found that with all of these videos I'm watching. No one's making bad stuff because they can't make anything that sounds bad. You can't make things that sound inaudible at least. Yeah, there might be some bad ideas that just don't really click, and maybe it sounds too generic, or maybe it sounds too weird. And the final message here is that you can get to a level to where you can't make bad music. You're going to have things that you might not think it's good, but to an overall perspective, you have like a main theme. You have like the essential elements that make a song. This isn't like a tip to make you better, but it's just something to keep in mind, that the better that you get, the better your worst songs get, and obviously the better your normal songs and best songs are going to get to.